Chapter 5. The Filipino Advantage, Strength in Family. Many countries measure strength by economic output, military power, or technological progress. These things are important, but they do not tell the whole story. In the Philippines, one of the country's greatest strengths does not appear in statistics. It lives quietly inside the family. The Filipino family is more than a household. It is a support system, a safety net, and sometimes even a small economic unit. When one member struggles, others step in. When one succeeds, the success is rarely enjoyed alone. It is shared. This is why many Filipinos are willing to make great sacrifices for their families. A parent may work long hours so children can finish school. A sibling who finds a good job may help support younger brothers and sisters. An aunt or uncle may quietly assist with tuition, medical bills, or daily needs. In many parts of the world, individuals are expected to stand completely on their own. Government systems often carry the burden of helping people through difficult times. In the Philippines, however, the first line of support usually begins at home. This is why millions of Filipinos work abroad. Behind every remittance sent home is a story of sacrifice. Parents endure loneliness so their children can have opportunities. Brothers and sisters delay their own dreams so younger members of the family can continue their education. This quiet network of support is one of the hidden engines of the Philippine economy. Money sent home from abroad builds houses, sends children to school, pays for medical care, and helps small businesses grow. It strengthens communities in ways that rarely appear in official reports. But the Filipino advantage goes beyond money. It is also emotional strength. When crises come, typhoons, floods, economic downturns, families gather together. They help rebuild homes, share food, and offer comfort. Even during difficult times, few people face hardship completely alone. This family-centered culture has allowed Filipinos to survive many storms, both literal and economic. Of course, this system is not perfect. Sometimes the burden placed on successful family members becomes heavy. Expectations can grow too large. Responsibility can become overwhelming. Yet despite its challenges, the Filipino family remains one of the country's greatest sources of resilience. What outsiders sometimes misunderstand as weakness is often a quiet form of strength. The Filipino advantage is not found only in buildings, corporations, or government programs. It is found in parents who sacrifice, siblings who support one another, grandparents who guide the younger generation, and families who continue to stand together through both hardship and success. In the Philippines, the family is not simply part of society. In many ways, it is the foundation of society itself. Chapter 6. What our parents really give us. When we were young, we often believed that our parents only gave us the things we could see: food on the table, clothes to wear, and the opportunity to go to school. These were the visible gifts that filled our daily lives, and to a child, they seemed to be everything. But as we grow older, we begin to realize that our parents were giving us something far more valuable. They were quietly shaping our habits. Without us noticing, they were teaching us how to live. They reminded us to save money instead of spending everything at once. They taught us to respect other people, especially those who were older. They insisted that we finish what we started, even when the task became difficult or boring. These lessons were repeated many times, sometimes in gentle words, and sometimes in firm reminders. When we were young, those reminders often felt annoying. We did not always understand why our parents cared so much about small things: turning off the lights, cleaning up after ourselves, being punctual, or keeping our word. At the time, it sometimes seemed like unnecessary discipline. But years later, many people discover something surprising. Those small lessons quietly became the foundation of their lives. The habit of saving becomes financial stability. Respect for others builds lasting relationships. The discipline to finish what we start becomes the key to success in work and in life. Parents rarely explain all this while we are growing up. They simply repeat the same guidance again and again, hoping that one day it will take root. In truth, what our parents give us is not only material support, but a set of invisible tools, habits, values, and discipline that stay with us long after we leave home. And one day, when we find ourselves repeating the same reminders to our own children, we begin to understand what our parents were really giving us all along. They were quietly building our future. When we are young, we rarely see the full burden our parents carry. We simply wake up and find food on the table. Only later in life do we realize how much effort it took for them to provide those simple things. I remember the moment when I began to understand how hard my parents worked for our family. That changed the way I saw them forever. Chapter 7. Faith in the Filipino Mind. Faith plays a powerful role in Filipino life. For many Filipinos, faith is not only practiced inside churches on Sundays, it is woven into daily life. A simple prayer before meals, a quiet sign of the cross before beginning a journey, or a short prayer whispered during difficult moments shows how naturally faith lives in the Filipino heart. Many people believe that God guides their journey. When life becomes uncertain, faith provides comfort and hope. In times of illness, loss, or hardship, families often gather to pray together. These prayers are not only expressions of belief, but also a source of strength that helps people face life's challenges with courage. Because of this deep sense of faith, many Filipinos grow up believing that life is never faced alone. There is always a higher presence watching over them, giving them the strength to continue even when circumstances become difficult. This belief has helped many families survive storms, both literal and emotional. Prayer also plays an important role in moments of uncertainty. When people feel that they have reached the limits of their own strength, prayer reminds them that hope still exists. It gives the heart a sense of peace that allows people to continue moving forward. I remember an experience that reminded me how faith remains strong even among people who seem to have everything. One day I was inside the Blessed Sacrament Chapel in one of the SM supermalls. I was kneeling in deep prayer. After a while, my knees could no longer bear the pain, so I quietly stood up and surrendered my place. But I noticed a woman who remained kneeling long after I had already stood. She continued praying in silence. When I looked more closely, I suddenly recognized who she was. She was the wife of the founder of the SM conglomerate. For a moment, I was surprised. Here was a woman whose family possessed wealth beyond what most people could imagine. Billions in business, buildings across the country, and success known everywhere. Yet there she was, kneeling quietly in prayer. And a thought crossed my mind. What else could she be asking from God? Then I realized something important. Faith is not about what we already have. Faith is about recognizing that everything we have still comes from someone greater than ourselves. Yet in many quiet moments, I sometimes find myself wondering about another side of this deep faith that Filipinos carry. Our nation believes very strongly that God is always present. Many people repeat comforting words such as, God will always provide. This belief gives great strength and hope. It comforts the heart, especially during hardship. It reassures people that they are never abandoned. But sometimes I quietly ask myself whether this deep belief can also make some people passive. When comfort is very strong, it can feel almost like being lifted by high expectations, like being carried by hope alone. Of course, there are many deeper reasons why a nation progresses slowly or quickly. Faith itself is not the only factor, but it is also true that when people feel completely reassured that God will provide, they may sometimes forget that God also expects them to act, to build, and to take responsibility. True faith does not replace effort. Instead, it strengthens the will to act wisely and to work hard. When faith and effort walk together, they become a powerful force that helps individuals and communities grow stronger. Sometimes, however, faith can be misunderstood. Some people may think that faith means waiting passively for miracles without taking responsibility for their own actions. When this happens, faith loses part of its true purpose. Faith itself is not the problem. Misunderstanding it sometimes is. When faith is understood correctly, it encourages people to pray, to think clearly, and to act responsibly. It reminds us that while we trust in God's guidance, we are also called to do our part in building a better future. In this way, faith becomes not an excuse for inaction, but a quiet strength that inspires people to live with purpose, courage, and hope. Chapter 8. The Spirit of Resilience. The Philippines faces many hardships every year. Nature itself often tests the strength of the nation. Powerful typhoons arrive from the Pacific, rivers overflow during heavy rains, and floods sometimes cover entire communities. In addition to these natural challenges, economic difficulties, rising prices, and unexpected crises can make life even more complicated for many families. Yet in the middle of these challenges, something remarkable can be seen in the Filipino spirit. Filipinos rarely stay defeated for long. After the storm passes and the waters begin to recede, people immediately start rebuilding their homes, repairing what was damaged, and helping neighbors who may have lost even more. This ability to rise again after hardship has become one of the most recognizable qualities of the Filipino people. In many communities, help arrives not only from government or organizations, but from ordinary citizens. Neighbors help clear debris, families share food, friends offer temporary shelter. This sense of bayanihan, the tradition of helping one another, continues to play an important role in recovery. Filipinos also show a remarkable ability to adjust to difficult situations. When resources become limited, families learn to stretch what they have. Small businesses appear quickly in neighborhoods. Informal systems of lending and support emerge to help people continue their daily lives. Creativity becomes a survival tool. This resilience does not mean that hardship is easy. It simply means that Filipinos refuse to let hardship define their future. They find ways to move forward even when circumstances seem discouraging. Over time, this repeated experience of rebuilding has shaped a national character that values patience, determination, and adaptability. Filipinos have learned that life may bring many storms, but each storm also teaches new ways to endure and grow stronger. During my years working in the energy industry, I crossed Laguna Lake many times. I saw the lake during calm mornings and also during rough weather when the waves reminded us how powerful nature could be. Fishermen continued working even when conditions were difficult. Life had to move forward. Watching them taught me something about the Filipino spirit. People may face storms, but they rarely stop moving. The spirit of resilience is therefore more than survival. It is the quiet determination to stand up again, rebuild what was lost, and continue the journey with hope.